Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rajan Gautam. I also go by Raj. On behalf of the Singh family, I want to thank you all for being here today. I think it means a great deal to all of us. My memories that I'd like to share, the Paramjit uncle and I go back nearly 40 years. Our friendship began shortly after a rather unfortunate event. And I remember the date exactly. It was October 31, 1984. And what had happened that day was the assassination of the then Indian Prime Minister at the hands of her own bodyguards. Those of you remember the event will recall the terrible events that took place in the days and weeks following the assassination, leading to the tremendous loss of life. There was this atmosphere of distrust, not only in India, but even right here in our Indian community in Cleveland. FICA, our Indian organization here in Cleveland, organized a peace march to be held in downtown Cleveland. It was intended to be a peaceful, silent walk through the downtown streets, and at the end you were to quietly disperse and go home. The march was advertised and open to all members of our community. What stuck out to me that day, and to this day, was the courage of one individual, a member of the Sikh community, who saw the need for healing and restoration of peace. And that man was my Paramjit uncle. Maybe there were other turbaned Sikh members of the Indian community in attendance, but I don't remember seeing anyone except him. My respect and admiration for him began right there. I remember thinking, and I'm going to censor what I really thought that day, he has guts. I remember at the end of the march, walking up just to shake his hand, introduce myself. And in the following months, in early 1985, he was elected as the president of FICA. And he enrolled me, and we'll talk about that word a little later, into serving on the board as the treasurer. Our individual friendship grew into family friendship to the extent that our respective families spent most major holidays together from then on. So by this time I was officially under his wing, and on learning one day that I didn't know how to play golf, he enrolled two other gentlemen, one who happens to be sitting right there, Ramesh Gavani, so that I was totally surrounded and properly educated in that fine game. Now, enroll, by the way, was one of his favorite words, and I see Sheila smiling. You do not sell an idea to someone. You do not convince anyone to do something. You need to enroll them to be a part of the overall vision. Now, golf education itself is a very, very long story. I don't remember how many times we'll just play 9 holes, which turned into 18, which turned into 27, with a few pitches of beer in between and then dinner at the end of the day. But joking and kidding aside, Paramjit uncle has to be one of the most selfless people I have ever known. I don't recall him ever showing anger. The closest he would come, when he would miss that 10-inch putt on the golf course, he'd shrug his shoulders and say, ah. And I would ask him, Uncle, do you miss these short putts because you putt left-handed, but you were really right-handed for most of the game? And his response used to be, nope, putting left-handed makes me concentrate more. You see, you drive for show and you putt for dough. One of the earlier pioneers, he liked organizing events, organizations, community efforts, and I'm sure that you'll hear a lot more from people who will be speaking shortly after me. He was one of the earlier pioneers in what we now call the initiatives of diversity, equity, and initiative and inclusion. We had formed a golf league. Don't remember the exact year that had taken place, and after extensive debate, we went with his suggested name, and it was called the Be Happy Golf Club. According to him, it didn't matter what nationality, race, or creed one was, but you could join the club as long as you were willing to be happy. I mean, I could certainly talk for hours sharing my favorite stories and memories, showing the impact he has had on me. Uncle, if you are listening, I want to thank you for being a part of my life. I miss you. I'll miss you in the future. I'll especially miss you on March 1st, because we will not be on the phone wishing each other birthday. We shared birthdays, March 1, and frequently I would call him, and hearing the same to you in return will be missed. In parting, I'll share another one of Uncle's gems that I have used with my teammates, my employees, people who report to me. He constantly talked about a lot of people who were members of NATO. And we're not talking about the North Atlantic Treaty. His version was a lot of people belong to the NATO group, no action, talk only. So folks, at Uncle's request, let's resolve not to be members of NATO. Like him, let's go out in the world and do something good. Thank you for listening.